Hello and welcome to the Road to Rec League podcast. I'm Callum, and in today's episode, normal service resumes, and we have a catch-up about how I'm getting on hockey-wise. That's right, a little less of a focus on the Jets this time round. Obviously had a really good conversation last time around about the sort of different combinations of lines and what you can do, and maybe a couple of options for the organisation. But today we're going to dial that back a little bit, and we're going to focus up on, I suppose, how I'm getting on. And it's kind of a bit of a milestone, really, because on Wednesday this week, it was 2 milestones, actually, ironically. Milestone number 1, I logged my 50th hour of ice time ever. That includes any just skating as well, so not just hockey, but skating, hockey combined. So I've now reached 50 and a half hours it is, which, interestingly, is 0.5% mastery. So they say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master in something. And so I'm 0.5% of the way there. Something worth tracking over time. But yeah, so picked up my 50th hour at team practice, which was awesome. And at the same time, turned 30. So so last Wednesday, turned 30 and got an hour's practice in. It was an interesting day. Also a lot of work, but that's boring and we won't talk about that. So I'll start though on Sunday. Because that's obviously where the last adult learn to play session was. And I did a little bit of reflecting, really, because I've had a couple of weeks where I don't feel like I really had the capacity to recover. I've been trying really hard to pick up extra ice time and all that sort of stuff, and I just feel like my recovery's taken a bit of a knock. So it was a bit of a tough week, and I think when going into that session, I put a lot of, I guess, emphasis on the outcome without also considering all of the inputs. So one of them obviously being not a lot of recovery time, still having sore legs and stuff like that. I'm glad to say that I found a couple of things that have been helping with that, and just a bit of a change in mindset around what I'm trying to focus on with my body, and also just priorities generally. So I'll get to that in a bit. But for Adult Learn to Play on Sunday, basically we had training camp drills. So 5 different drills on the ice, 40 of us, split into groups of 8. And we'd go and do like a piggy in the middle. We did a couple of other sort of like passing drills and skating drills. And again, like some of the stuff I've not been able to do previously. So it was really exciting to be able to do some of that. So we did one which was skate forwards, transition to backwards. This is with the puck as well. Skate forward, transition to backwards, transition to forward, tight turn, and then skate halfway back and pass. And that was all in the space of effectively one zone. So getting to do things like that was really helpful. I can feel that kind of comfort level slowly increasing, but it is a really steep learning curve still. And I think I just need to be a little bit kind to myself and a bit more patient, because I usually set these unrealistically high expectations of myself, and I can feel myself slipping into the same trap, and like pushing really hard to be better than I quote unquote like should be, given that I'm starting this all off, effectively at 30. So, I think I need to be a little bit kinder, but really good set of drills and actually made some good progress. I was really tired at the end of it as well, which is good because it meant that we were skating a lot. We then went into a scrimmage and it was a bit tough. Worked really hard, but struggled to sort of like influence the game. Ended up getting like 3 shifts, maybe 4 shifts at most. Did manage to get an assist, which was pretty cool. So sort of, I guess, drove the play forward. Someone on the right wing had a shot, missed. I went behind the net to recover the puck. Basically ended up taking it on my backhand and passing it into the slot and getting an assist. So that was quite good. Like I say, a bit of a sort of recovery behind the net sort of situation, and that's going to definitely be something that happens in games and other scrimmages. So well worth sort of being pleased with that, I suppose. And I also did have one like hard skate back. To stop someone who's a much better skater than me have an opportunity at an empty netter. So like really worked my ass off on that one actually, and they are significantly quicker than me ordinarily, and they were probably, let's say, 10 paces behind me, and then I got to the puck, and okay, maybe they were 1 pace behind me, so I still lost ground, but I did just enough to disrupt the play. I ended up falling a bit. Sliding to the ground, getting back up again and getting back in the way. But, I wanted to make sure I got there. I didn't want to get beaten to the puck, and I was okay falling over in order to make the play. And that's maybe something I haven't always been very good at doing. So yeah, really pleased with that too. But it was tough. It was tough sledding. And it turns out that I had pretty blunt inside edges. I am really realizing that my technique is not strong. My inside edges are getting worn out after like 10 hours of skating, maybe less. So I'm sharpening my skates probably more frequently than I'd like to. However, that did prompt a pretty positive outcome, I think, actually. So anyway, adult learn to play really good. Then we had the training session with the team I'm registered with. So on the way there, I stopped off at a skate shop to get my skates sharpened. And I'd done a little bit of reading throughout the day around hollows. Not something I've messed around with a lot, except I think I did once accidentally get a pretty, what's the right phrase I'm looking for here? Tight radius hollow. Because I asked for something I didn't really know I was talking about. Someone asked me if that was what I wanted, and I just said yes. But I think traditionally I've always done 1/2 inch. And this was the first time I did 5/8. And I have to say that skating on 5/8 felt a lot more natural. Really, really pleased. Actually, just stuff like slowing down felt like I had so much more control over it. Whereas with the 1/2 inch, I felt like I was sort of all or nothing and a little bit got a little bit stuck sometimes. So yeah, hugely pleased with that at least. And just getting that opportunity to try something different. And I thought, I was a bit disappointed by Sunday's showing, so I thought, fuck it, I'll try something different. At the end of the day, I'm trying to remind myself that I don't need to be good in December. I need to be good in March. And that's when the season sort of really kicks off. So if that's when I've got to be good by, then let's take the time to try a few different things now. Let's take the time to get, a little bit stronger and a little bit fitter, even if it's costing me, a better performance today. If it's going to lead to a better performance tomorrow, then that should really be the focus. I think at some point next year, like I say, I want to push myself into a lineup if I can, but that might not be possible. So my focus has got to be that rather than can I make a team today. The team actually have their first game in a couple of days now, or probably just over a week. So, or it'll be a week when this goes live. I'm having to record this on the Saturday because of other plans. But yeah, so with that in mind, I'm sort of like, okay, well, I'm not breaking into the lineup now. I'm definitely one of, if not the worst person who turns up regularly. But can I do something to influence decision making for the middle of next year? Can I work damn hard at getting better so that when March, April, May, June come around, I can force myself into a spot in the lineup, or or try anyway. And I think over the coming weeks, I'm going to start asking the question, what do I need to do? Because I think I'm a really goal-orientated kind of person. So if the target is, I need to see you do X, Y, and Z in training, well, then best believe I'm going to work damn hard to try and be able to do X, Y, and Z, and see how we go from there. So I think that's what I'm going to start trying to piece together. General fitness, general strength and conditioning, lower half of the body, sort of really work on my leg strength and anaerobic and aerobic capacities. So we'll see how we go. But anyway, so I get a new hollow. And I love how tangential I can be sometimes, where I'm just like, oh yeah, let's talk about something that I have planned for 5 minutes time. So new hollow, 5/8, step on the ice for the first time, start to slow down, and I was like, yeah, this is better. You just feel it. It's really bizarre. I've not had that experience before, having done solely 1/2 inch, or I think once accidentally ordered 3/8. But yeah, going to 5/8, trying that out, and just feeling the ice under my blade a little bit cleaner, I guess, was really good actually. So we did 2 drills. We did piggy in the middle, the classic. We did the 5-on-0, 3-on-2 drill. So I got a couple of reps of that in. And I have realized that obviously my skating speed and capability in that is dictating when I enter the play. But I think at this, with that in mind, at least I'm able to recognize my limitations and when I enter the play, and how I can influence a game, hopefully with my limited skill set. And that is arriving a bit later. That is trying to find the gaps and put myself in positions to be a second layer of attack, because I'm not going to be quick enough to break the line or get in behind defenses necessarily. But if I can be the person who receives the puck after someone has done that, then I can influence the game still. So that was interesting, kind of getting used to that again. We also, for the scrimmage, shortened the shifts. So we've historically done 90 seconds to, I think, 95, 90 seconds. Now down to 60-second shifts, and they were great. I really liked the level of intensity, that competitive edge was still coming through, and I feel like a lot of people felt like they had a bit more jump during the session, which was just spot on, really. It kind of really worked. And it suited me particularly because I was finding that my capacity was starting to just peter off in the last 15, 20 seconds. And if I managed to get involved in a play, I wasn't necessarily the most influential person on that play. Well, I wouldn't be anyway, but I wasn't as influential as I could be because I didn't have a lot left in the tank. Not aerobically, like, I mean, fitness-wise, I'm fine, but just in my legs, I just didn't have a lot left in the tank. So, love the 60-second shifts. Meant I could just give my all constantly, which I was doing anyway, but I was just running out, that's all. And we actually got to stick with the same lines for the most part on our team anyway. So, I was in line with a couple of the other guys who were probably, good enough to make the team, but let's say bottom six kind of guys, compared to some of the talent level we've got in the team who are like really quite strong actually. And you sort of watch what they're doing. It's like, whew, these people are hardly having to think. I'm not saying that necessarily the guys I was playing with did either, but I definitely do. And they drew the short straw clearly. But we actually built a really cool little dynamic for the. I can't remember how many shifts we ended up having. It probably was about 8, maybe shifts, 6, 7, 8 shifts, which was really good. Of actually sort of dedicated, hard-working ice time. And I ended up just playing up the middle. So both the other chaps wanted to play wing, and I just said I'll go wherever I'm needed. So ended up playing up the middle and really enjoyed the challenge of that. Really enjoyed the challenge of skating hard back and forth. And it's getting my reps in, my ice time in. There's no hanging around at the point, just covering off a defenseman. You need to be a little bit more active in the slot. And I'm really enjoying that. I think it's actually going to be how I push myself more and get stronger, I think, perhaps. But we actually made some nice plays. We hemmed people in for a couple of shifts, which was great. We maybe spent like 20 seconds of sustained pressure in someone's zone. And we were able to just limit the number of opportunities coming back the other way. I think plus minus would have been 0. I'm pretty sure we let in one and scored one. But actually, it was a really, really fun pair of guys to play with. Very encouraging, very positive. And I think there were a couple of opportunities. So I'm again technically I think got an assist because the puck sort of bounced off the edge of my blade. But I would never count it as something very active. But I was again doing that same thing I've done for the last couple of sessions, which is work my way into the slot. No one's picked me up. I'm there in front of goal, and unfortunately the pass is just out of reach, but it goes to the next guy who buries it. So as a team, we managed to resolve that. So I was sort of like, I guess, what would be low slot, and he was, I guess, high slot, and it just sort of leaked past me because I couldn't quite get to it, and ended up on someone else's stick. So yeah, a really good bit of play there, and I managed to disrupt maybe 3-4 passes. Keep it in the zone a couple of times when it could have leaked out. So really good effort all round, and then also just playing a bit of playing kind of smart. So a couple of times banking stuff off the boards in the defensive zone to try and clear the zone. And also create maybe an opportunity to break away or dump the puck in or something like that. So and change. So it did kind of feel like some of the stuff was starting to really click in that respect. But it was really good fun to play with the same people and have those kind of set roles. I did actually really enjoy that, and I think that's something that I'll benefit from in time. I just think it maybe suits my style of play or whatever. But yeah, so in terms of like output from that session, I guess really strong from where I had come from on the Sunday, and I was very disappointed on the Sunday. So it was really nice to pick that up. Since then, I was hoping to get out for a public skate session, but frankly, I've been a bit tired. Just needed to get some recovery in, like I was saying at the start. So instead, I've done a bit of work on sort of how I'm going to prioritize my off-ice training. Again, because I think I got a little bit caught up in every minute needs to be on ice, then I didn't have enough ice time. Now I've not saying too much, but now I've swung the other way and got loads. And there's going to be more to come over winter, which I'm really excited for, but I do need to get that balance of actually just working on the other things that make up, my fitness and slash, my conditioning. So every day, every morning and evening now, I'm stretching, just to try and help aid recovery. I've had a couple of like Epsom salt baths and stuff like that. I'm going on more walks and just trying to also just give my mind a rest really and get some fresh air, a bit of sunshine, and just make sure that I'm prioritizing the things that are going to keep me well. And then I hopped on a bike for the first time in a decade. Probably not strictly true. It's the first time in a decade that I've done interval training on a turbo trainer. So back along when I was sort of, say, 15, 16, 17, I used to do, I wouldn't say competitive cycling, but I used to race, like road bikes, semi-competitive, you could say, and really enjoyed it back then, and then fell out of love with it. And I have to say, getting back on it didn't make me love it any more than recently. But it is a really good sort of way of building up sort of strength and anaerobic recovery in the muscles. So worked my ass off on the turbo for half an hour, 20 minutes probably. And then I could hardly walk, took a bath, felt fine afterwards, which is great. So I'm going to be incorporating probably a bit more of that. So once a week on the turbo. I'm still working, I guess, on trying to eat better, and I am struggling slightly with that, if I'm honest. It's not just 'tis the season, but like work and stuff. It's an easy excuse, but with the long drives and commutes and stuff, and like, you know, I live hours away from where I work, so it does slightly impact my ability to just do, you know, it makes it harder to do the right thing for food consumption, is what I'll say. And I'm working hard, but not hard enough. So I've got to keep doing that. And I want to get back out running again. I got into some good routines with that, and that's just going to help build up the general fitness. So I do need to keep maintaining that. So I figure if I can do something aerobic and something anaerobic every week, then I'm going to be in better shape come March. It means I can keep it flexible as to what I do for that. But for the legs, primarily, I imagine that would be cycling or things like, you know, weighted lunges and squats and stuff like that. Time will tell. So, yeah, really a good reset week this week, I think, actually, in a sense. I'm really glad that I've afforded myself a little bit more time. Tomorrow, or today, as of publication of this, I'm heading up to watch the Nottingham Panthers play. I think they're against the Five Flyers. A nice little like birthday weekend trip up to catch up with a couple of friends and go watch a game, which I'm really looking forward to. I don't get to watch the Panthers very often, and I do follow along. They're having a much better season of it than Winnipeg. And my favourite player from last year, who was made captain, seems to be doing pretty well after his recovery from injury. So, pleased with that. I can't wait to go up, grab some food, watch the game, have a nice time. And again, just keep that passion going. Like, I've been watching the Winnipeg games on catch-up most of the time, and sometimes they can be a little difficult to watch. The Dallas game was a good effort, at least. But oh boy, is this team interesting. They're in a really interesting place at the moment. I'll say that much anyway. But so it should be nice just to relax, do something a bit different. And the reason I've got to do that is because I've got such a hectic week coming up in terms of skating practice and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, not all of it will be done by the next time I record. So when the episode of the 21st is released, I'll have had, in theory, 3 more sessions, including one dedicated skating lesson with the skating coach from the Cardiff Devils, actually, which I think will be really cool. So I'm looking forward to talking about that on the 21st in great detail. But yeah, and then after that, even I've got 3, 4, 5, maybe 3, 4 sessions the week after. Like in the Christmas week, I've got 2 on one day, followed by 1 on one day, followed by 2 on the next day. So it's going to be a little bit intense, but thankfully a couple of days off over Christmas and just a chance to rest the legs on Christmas Day, and then we'll see how we go. But it's nice to have things to look forward to. It's nice to have the sessions booked in. I think now I need to really focus on how I'm recovering between sessions, which I know I've talked on briefly in the past as well. But I just need to maintain that level of focus. I'm not going to do my little breakdown of 3 Jets things because I just want to give it a bit more time, given the last episode where I really went in depth on it. I think I mean, I've said a lot that needed to be said last time round, so I didn't really need to break it down into 3s again. But something I will say, just generally, as a fan of Gabriel Velarde, he seems to have had a bit of a jump in his step. He's been moved around across a few lines in the lineup, sorry. And he seems to bring a little bit more energy into his shifts when he's not on the top line almost. I feel like he has to take. I feel like he thinks he's got to take responsibility and get something going, and I actually think it might benefit the team. If they, like I mentioned last time, kind of separate that top line a little bit, and if Velarde's the only way they're willing to do it, then it's better than not doing it at all. But realistically, we've got thousands of options that aren't being explored because they won't split up two people who are good friends, and the precedent has been set, unfortunately. But 31 other teams are willing to do it, just not Winnipeg, seemingly, which is a shame. But such is life. Now, I will say this as well. Talking of Winnipeg, generally, I am hoping to do a bit of like a Winnipeg and me episode at some point. Why did I pick the team, and dive into that story. A couple of people who, will probably have already heard it, but I really want to do a full episode, sort of going from the beginning as to how I found out about the city before I found out about hockey and the team and everything. So I will try to get that done before the new year, as a bit of like an end of year episode. I think could be good fun. Right, I think we'll call it there. Bit of a short one today. More to follow next week, no doubt. If you've enjoyed it, or if you've got any thoughts and feelings, don't forget you can comment, like and subscribe, follow along on Spotify and all that sort of good stuff. And then, like I say, thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. And until next time, bye for now.